What's up YouTube? Capital G here, checking out a couple of the brand new Link Frames Pack 3 monsters that got revealed on the live stream. I did not expect Simorgh to get a Link monster, but thank goodness it did because Konami has really outdone themselves with this card and it addresses almost every problem this archetype had. Let's start with Simorgh, Bird of Kings. This is a Link 3 Win Attribute Wing Beast monster, 2400 attack. Its link points are all towards you, bottom, bottom right, bottom left. Your third effect is a hard once per turn. This card needs 2+ monsters, including a Wing Beast monster. That's important that everything doesn't have a Wing Beast or doesn't have to be Wing Beast because it allows you to link summon into things like Great Fly or Harpy Conductor, Monster Reborn your little Simorghs, and then use those monsters and the Link monster that you summon all for the summon of this card. If you play Simorghs, you understand what I'm saying. Your third effect is a hard once per turn, and this card cannot be used as Link material. Now, usually that's a downside with a lot of Link monsters, but you want to keep this card on the field as long as possible because the longer this card stays on the field, the more likely it is that you're going to win. So this card not being able to be used as Link material is actually, like, if that's a nerf, that's actually a blessing in disguise. Your first effect says, this card, also any Wing Beast monster it points to, cannot be targeted by opponent's card effects. Second effect, if this card would be destroyed by battle, you can destroy one Simorgh card you control instead. Third effect, during the end phase, you can special summon from your hand or deck one Wing Beast monster whose level is equal or lower than the number of unoccupied spell and trap zones on the field. Okay, so you got 3 effects on this card. They're all phenomenal. Number one, the fact that this card can't be targeted means your opponent can't stop it with impermanence. They can't stop it with something like Effect Failure. They can't stop it with a Widow Anchor. There's a lot of targeting in Yu-Gi-Oh! None of those cards will stop it. Also, you can't target anything that it points to with card effects as well. You're going to be summoning Wing Beast monsters almost exclusively in Simorgh builds. They don't really run any monsters that aren't Wing Beasts. So essentially anything this guy points to is going to get that protection. Number 2, if you try to run over this card by battle, you can just give up your fodder, one of your other little baby Simorgh monsters that free Monster Reborn themselves. And then you look at the third effect. This is what really makes this card insane. The fact that this card can summon from the deck Wing Beast monsters equivalent to the unoccupied spell and trap zones. Number one, like, the Simorgh archetype doesn't really play that many trap cards. Number 2, turn 0, it counts your opponent's spell and trap zones as well. If you're going first with Simorgh, obviously your opponent is going to have 5 unoccupied spell and trap zones. So generally what you're going to do is you're going to summon one of the big level 8s, or if you're playing against a combo deck, you're going to summon the Wind Barrier statue and just literally win the game because your opponent won't be able to special summon. Another thing that I like about this card is it kind of fixes like the win condition of Simorgh where they really didn't have anything going for them outside of the level 8. So Simorgh was always very similar to an archetype like Spiral. They could put a lot of monsters on board, but they didn't have anything good to go into. You could say the same thing about Goki before the Nightmares came out. This card gives them that good thing to go into. Keep in mind, all the little Simorghs, all the level 4 or lower, they all have free Monster Reborn. So now you can just summon them. You can go into something like a Great Fly, which counts as Link material for this card summon, and then you just Monster Reborn them using their own effects, and then you go into this, you bring out the Wind Barrier statue, and if you're playing against a combo deck, basically GG no re. If you're playing against like a control deck, like I don't know, maybe Sky Striker or Guru Control, something that is not really going to be hurt by the Wind Barrier statue, you just bring out the big level 8, the dark one, the one that has built-in spell and trap negation. You just bring that guy out of your deck, and that card can be summoned in attack mode, by the way. It will not be able to be targeted because you're going to summon it to this card's link point, and you get free spell and trap negation as well as a colossal size beater on the field. I don't really know what there isn't to, or what there's not to like about this card. It's easy to summon. It can't be targeted. It gives targeting protection to other monsters that it points to. It's very difficult to destroy by battle because you can give up one of your crappy little Simorgh monsters to protect it. And then every single end phase, that is your end phase and your opponent's end phase, you get to summon free monsters from the deck. Like, the longer this card stays on the field, the more likely it is you're going to win because you keep summoning more and more monsters, and honestly it just kind of snowballs out of control. From what I've seen, usually within 2 turns you're going to win with this card. Next up is the Artifact Link monster. This is Artifact Dagda. It's a link to Light Fairy monster, 1500 attack. Your link points are bottom left and bottom right, and your summoning conditions are the same as like Nightmare monsters, just two monsters with different names. So if you can summon Nightmares, you can summon this. Your first and second are hard once per turns. First effect says when another card or another card's effect is activated on the field. This is a quick effect. You can set one artifact monster directly from your hand or deck in your spell and trap zone as a spell card, but destroy it during your opponent's next end phase. Second effect, if this link summon card is destroyed during the opponent's turn, you can special summon one artifact monster from your graveyard in defense position. This card reminds me very much of like the Psyframe Lambda, the Psyframe link monster, because it's kind of an archetype where it seems a little weird to get a link monster. Psyframes and artifacts don't really have like normal summons per se. They do a lot of playing during the opponent's turn, so it's like, how exactly are they going to summon this? But the summoning conditions make it quite easy to summon. Even something as simple as a Hornet Drones turns instantly into this card. I really like the fact that your own card effects can activate this card's effect. Keep in mind, if this card is on the field and you activate like a Terraforming or an Upstart Goblin, you summon an Alistair the Invoker, something like that, you will be able to just set an artifact monster from your deck into your back row. Now, the one thing I like about this card in addition to that is that it kind of solves the problem of artifacts just being in your back row and kind of being dead, because the artifact that you set kind of blows itself up during your opponent's end phase. So it kind of means that your opponent can't just ignore it, right? Like, it really wouldn't be all that impactful to set an artifact scythe if you didn't have a way of destroying it. However, if you're going to set a morale tech and you know that it's going to destroy itself during the end phase, summon itself, and maybe pop one of your opponent's face-up cards, your opponent just can't ignore that, because if nothing else, even if they don't have a face-up card on the field, you're still getting a free 2100 beater if nothing else. So I think that that's legitimate. I think that this card is actually a little stronger, well, no, significantly stronger with Morale Tech for that reason, because the artifact does destroy itself, and obviously Morale Tech can still be very impactful even during your opponent's end phase. I think that it's going to be really easy to activate this card's effect twice, basically by the time your opponent does anything, because if you go first, you can activate this card's effect yourself. Then if your opponent goes, they're going to use some card effect ideally, and you'd be able to activate it again. That's two morale techs you could summon for free during your opponent's end phase. They're not going to want to deal with that, and again, they can't really ignore it either, because those monsters will summon themselves. They're going to have to deal with those cards somehow. I like the fact that if your opponent kills this card, it can summon an artifact from your graveyard. That gives you another way of, if nothing else, just getting a big monster on board. It feels like a pretty solid card for artifact strategies. I do think that artifacts are really best when played with other archetypes like Trap Tricks or Invoked, but if you are playing artifacts, I definitely think you need to play this, and I do like the fact that it pretty much isn't just Scythe or Bust, because that's kind of what artifacts have felt like for maybe like the last year and a half in Yu-Gi-Oh! Basically, it's just Scythe or Bust. This makes Morale Tech a lot better, but it still gives you the ability to play Scythe if you have a way of blowing that artifact up immediately and summoning that Scythe, against your opponent. So I think this card's actually pretty neat. Anyways, whatever you guys think of these cards, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.